Hi, and welcome to the Allure for More. Of course, I'm Reneka Moore, and I have the man of multiple hats, Mr. Tiger with me today. Thank you for joining the Allure for More.
Well, thank you for having me.
Of course, and you guys know how we do on every episode. We have the more bets. So let's see what the universe has for you today. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. And you can just pull
up. I'm pulling anyone off right here. So, demonstrate a hidden talent. Or mime your favorite celebrity. Wow.
How fitting.
What's crazy is I don't have a hidden talent because I'm out there for the world and I share everything on social media, everything. I think that's my hidden talent though. I think my hidden talent was taking food photographs. That was my hidden talent. I'm a foodie.
Oh wow.
And I love to eat.
Oh wow.
So I take pictures and people, all of a sudden I'll see 3 or 4 more after because that's my hidden talent of marketing a dish and making and influencing folks to go eat that dish. Isn't that crazy? So I can't really demonstrate it right now, but I think that's my hidden talent.
So I know you guys are excited. Look at this set. And I just want to let you a little tidbit. He actually designed this set back here. So we actually in Franklin, Louisiana at the Tesh Theater, which he is the man behind all the plays, the productions that go on here. So we got to get into it, okay?
Well, it's a team effort. So hey, we have a board of directors. Never a one-man show, huh? It's never a one-man show. Never a one-man show.
I love it.
Well, I can't do it by myself.
Yes. What they say, a village, right?
It definitely takes a village. So especially this show, it took about 30 people, so.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I know you guys getting excited, so I definitely want to know, how did you get started? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Wow, well, I grew up on Oak Lawn Plantation in Franklin here, went to Franklin High, grew up, like I tell everybody, dirt poor. And I said we had food, we had a car, and we had love. And we had more love than the other two. So, got into Franklin High, and I was deathly shy as a child. I was a mama's boy, and I was hiding behind her apron the whole time. And went to Franklin High. Miss Diane Wiltz, which a lot of people, everybody pretty much
from Franklin, we know.
You know who Miss Diane is. So my best friend Tara Yarber at the time, he pulled me in one day during the summer and said, "Hey, come help me move lighting at the theater." Okay. He was a junior, I was a sophomore. I'm like, man, I'm getting involved, and fell in love working tech, working the backstage, things like that. Ms. Diane Wiltz, my junior year, was passing around scripts. And that script hit my desk, and it had a name. It didn't have spotlight operator or sound tech. It wasn't tech or stage manager. It had a name on it, which was a character. And when I looked, it was the lead character of Up the Down Staircase. And I went to Miss Diane. I was like, Miss Diane, I can't do this. There's too many lines.
Wait, what's going on? What is this? What is this?
And she looked at me and she said, "It's 4th grade," and walked away from me.
That was the end of that discussion.
That was it, because I was nervous. I have to learn this script. It's 4th grade. And I remember I was so nervous the night of the performance. I had to run through the crowd because that's what she loves to do. I had to run through the crowd, and I tell everybody I didn't have butterflies in my stomach. I had gorillas in my stomach. I was so nervous. And I remember, and I tell everybody this story because when I ran through that crowd, I hit the stage and I turned around and those lights hit me. That shy kid died that day. It died that day because I had somebody that not only believed in me, but she gave me opportunity, she gave me access, and she exposed me to the art, something that I didn't know in myself, that this would be 30 years forward. Now a lifetime of just constant creating,
of purpose
creating imagination, everything that we do as kids, we continue to do that. Fast forward in theater, of course on a higher scale. But I'm always thankfully just grateful for Miss Diane. And now fast forward later, I'm a playwright with a national guild, the Dramatists Guild of America, because of Miss Diane, because she used to make us write our own shows.
Oh, wow.
We did a fundraising show, which was our huge fundraiser for the theater department. And we would write little vignettes or little skits, or we would do some like Saturday Night Live skit or something like that.
That's fun.
And I fell in love with writing, and you know, fast forward it now 30 years, and now producing plays because of that.
Wow. Whew. Wow. You just never know, like, the amount of people that you meet, the people you meet to push you forward and catapult you to where you are now. 30 years later, y'all.
30 years later.
30 years
and
later.
It doesn't feel like 30 years either.
Yeah.
It goes quick. Live your dream.
Live your dream, because time does not wait for anyone.
Nope.
And being that you've been in theater for 30 years, what's your favorite genres?
I love drama.
Okay.
I love drama. Both acting, directing, and writing. I love drama because it's easy to make people laugh. You know, we can do farces. The slip on a banana peel. You know, it's easy to make people laugh. It's hard to make people cry. It's hard to make people feel anger and sad, especially. But theater's the best medium to do it in. But I think that's my favorite, the drama, because it allows you to see something powerful happening on stage. Now, the funnest times that I've ever had on stage were in comedies, because to me, I don't want to say that I'm acting. I'm just having fun. I'm up there acting a fool.
Sometimes it can be you know?
Yeah, you know. But dramas, comedies, that, you know, I like watching musicals, even though we're on a set of my musical here. But never thought I would write a musical in my life, but check that bucket list.
Yes, your musical that you just dived into. The Quarters. We are on the set of The Quarters. So tell me about how this came into fruition for you. You know,
this play that we're sitting on, the set we're sitting on, was 10 years in the making.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, and only because I'm so busy. I'm nonstop, and I always put people in my community in front of me. Yeah. So 10 years ago, I had this idea of growing up in Oak Lawn, in the shadow of Oak Lawn Plantation, and looking at that really nice house while, you know, my floorboards were, I could see through them, you know, or a little cricky, you know, maybe not being able to get on that first step, you got to jump to that second step, you know. Just wondered, you know, like, wow, you know, how does somebody afford a house like that? How does somebody, you know, live in a house like that? Because that was foreign to me. I grew up without air conditioning and cable TV. So I pick on my wife, and I said, you know, she grew up with cable and AC. So girl, you privileged. You know, I tell her, I said, you grew up rich, and you know, she's like, no, we were, you know, regular family. And I'm like, no, girl, you was rich. You know, if you weren't eating peanut butter and jelly for supper, you was rich. You know, and but that growing up out there stuck with me. I grew up in the Quarters. I grew up playing in the Quarters. I grew up with the McCoys. I grew up with the Smiths, and those are my best friends. And I remember the sense of family that the Quarters had. Even though you had many families, it was one unit. And we're talking the 80s, you know, well, many hundreds of years after slavery. So we're talking the 80s, and it still had that family environment. If we did something wrong, we were going to be told about it. We weren't going to get whipped.
Everybody was looking out for everybody.
We were going to get whipped, first of all, and then we were going to get whipped once we got home. So
for mama and daddy.
That's right. So something that it's never left me, because I always tell everybody the Quarters raised me. I was accepted, and I was part of the family, and that stood with me as I got older. And then you really learn about slavery and the true history, the whole history of slavery. You go, you know, why aren't people telling that story? Why aren't people telling the whole history? Why aren't people willing to kind of push that boundary
push it,
to tell the story.
Tell the truth, the full story, yeah.
Because until then, can we go beyond starting that conversation, but having that conversation? Go beyond not only having that conversation, but by healing as a country, by coming together and to learning from our ancestors, or of course not our ancestors, but those that maybe thought they were doing right at the time, but now realizing that, slavery wasn't the way. And, something else that we did with the quarters was we put a focus on the Emancipation Proclamation, because it's unacknowledged history that the Emancipation Proclamation had regulations involved, or exemptions, shall I say, of certain parishes that it didn't fall under. And St. Mary Parish was one. It exempted St. Mary Parish from freeing their slaves at that time. And not a lot of people know that. We're not taught that in school, until we talked about it that night, the nights of this production, did people truly go, wow, we didn't know that, So, Galveston had started Juneteenth. That's where Juneteenth came from. It's because it's not that they didn't know about it, it's that the freedom wasn't there.
It wasn't, I guess, checked off. It wasn't.
At that moment, the U.S. regulated slavery. They said, okay, St. Mary Parish, Iberia Parish, all the southern slave economy areas, which they called, you can keep your slaves. However, we're going to regulate it. You have to do X, Y, Z. You have to give adequate housing. And adequate housing wasn't adequate housing.
Yeah.
You have to give the enslaved so much food to eat, so much clothing to wear, and when you think about that, when the U.S. really started regulating slavery at that point, of course, trying to weed it out, but in an effort of not allowing the southern parishes to fall economically. With the quarters, I knew I wanted to capture all of that. I knew I wanted to capture not only the love that I felt from the quarters, but to show the true side, the true history of slavery, show some of the barbaricness of slavery that we don't see. I bring it out to, if you watch The Passion of the Christ,
I saw it.
Once you watch The Passion of the Christ, you think of Christ's passion totally differently now. So sometimes theater, movies, we have to bring that story to light. So, and that's where, I pulled together a team. I pulled together a great team. Mr. Kenny Perry, another great musician and composer from Franklin. He wrote the music. He and I together wrote one song, and he wrote the rest, and pulled it together. And just the cast of the quarters was a stellar. I would, anybody that was on the stage, I could see them on a Broadway play, Broadway stage. We had that level of talent, and the thing about it, I was great to hear that in the public, where I didn't have to say it. This is my play, but people that came to see this show said that this is their favorite play, or this is their favorite musical, and just everything together with the set, from the acting to just the camaraderie, and I'll take it even further. Mr. Todd Butow played Henry, who was the overseer. He played the bad character. He played everything that's evil about slavery, and he played it amazingly. And a couple of nights, the audience let him know.
They did not like his character.
They did not like his character, and they told him about it while he's on stage during the show, because he did such an amazing job of it. There were moans, there were, oh my God, there were people were stating what was on their mind at that time, and that's what I wanted out of this play, because a lot of times we shy away from that.
Because it's a topic that nobody wants to address. They don't want to hear how it could affect somebody, and I think those hard conversations are so important, so you can, like you say all the time, like heal, so you can have an understanding.
And it goes into today's time when you look at, the Black Lives Matter movement and all the injustices that we see. that's what I did with the quarters. I mirrored some of those scenes. You know, there was a scene where the overseer comes out and Chike, who's played by Adolf, tries to intervene in a whipping, and he gets choked. And Adolf, Chike, the character, says, "I can't breathe." You know, it's because things that happened in the past are still happening today. Even though it may look different, it's still happening. You know, racial profiling. I mean, we see it each and every day, from going into department stores or just riding in neighborhoods. You know, look, Trayvon Martin walking in a neighborhood with a hoodie on. You know, and we see that today. It's still happening today. And until we as a country come together and stand up and speak on it, will we continue to see this to beyond our lives? You know? I've been contacted by Netflix. I've been contacted by the Whitney Plantation, some other groups. So because it caused, we tend to think a lot of times on a small scale, we're thinking there's no way anyone from Los Angeles or New York will know about what's happening in Franklin, Louisiana. And I tell you, it's not a big world. The theater world is a small world. If you create the right atmosphere, if you do the right marketing, it's gonna work, you know? So I always tell everybody, this stage gave me not only a spotlight here in Louisiana, but it gave me a spotlight across the United States. You know, and now looking international because France has called. So I'm looking to my next play to write is the story of a Franklin native, but he passed away in World War II in France. So we're looking to make that come to fruition real soon. And
it will. Come on. We're speaking it. We manifesting it. Yes. Now, I know I had another production called The Forgotten Healer.
Yes.
So that was another thing. I want to kind of hear about that too.
That's another untold history show. The Forgotten Healer is the story of Dr. Emma Wakefield Paye, who was Louisiana's first African-American female doctor in 1898. She did not get recognized until 2017. Because of the works of Dr. Phoebe Hayes and the Iberia African American Historical Society. Dr. Hayes had been remembered stories from her mother and her grandmother telling her of a young African American female doctor growing up. She became a professor at UL, and every time, once Google came out, she would Google. She could never find anything about a Dr. Emma Wakefield Paye. Finds it's about a 2-inch by 2-inch ad that a Dr. Emma Wakefield moved her practice, her medical practice, from one part of New Orleans closer to Dillard University. And she was, Dr. Wakefield was the first African-American female doctor out of Straight University, which is now Dillard University.
Oh, wow.
So Dr. Hayes and I had met each other, and they actually hired me to produce the show, to write it. And her and I did a lot of research, and that was fun. It was hard at first because the amount they had about this much information on her, and so I was, how am I gonna write a play on this? You know,
these two-liners, you know.
They we did the research together, and of course Dr. Hayes did the majority of the research. We would call each other excited, and then Fallon Mitchell, Miss Fallon Mitchell, another Franklin High graduate. It's funny how we're all still connected. I asked her to play Dr. Wakefield. I believe in going big, so I took the play and I condensed it to a one-woman production. Like a vignette, like a 25, 30-minute vignette. And then I said, what if I take prominent African-American women throughout history? Let's go from Sojourner Truth, her Ain't I a Woman speech on the steps of the Capitol, to Dr. Wakefield, so the 1800s, go fast forward all the way through Solange Knowles of today. And how it was just beautifully molded, and we had everybody from Maya Angelou, Billie Holiday, you name it, we had it. And I'm so blessed to be around so much great talent, to be able to put these things together, and having people believe in me and my leadership, and but of course it's a family unit. You know, it's all family, and to put that together. And we opened on Dr. Wakefield Day in 2017 in New Iberia, and we played a big role in that. And we were able to, if you go on Main Street, there's a marker for Dr. Emma Wakefield Paye now, Louisiana's first African American female doctor, 1898, finally.
Whew. Full circle.
Full circle. And you know, now, I thought I was just writing it on Dr. Wakefield's life, and I ended up writing it on her family's life, because everything had been erased, forgotten, whitewashed, or just totally pushed into the shadows. That way it didn't come out. Dr. Wakefield's father was one of Louisiana's first African American senators in Louisiana.
Oh, wow.
So her oldest brother, Adolph Wakefield, was one of Iberia Parish's first African American clerk of courts.
Wow.
Her brother Sammy, unfortunately, was lynched in New Iberia. So to know so much about a family with so little information, and having to literally find the needles in the haystack, Dr. Hayes did an amazing job, and she's writing a book.
Okay.
So her book's about to come out really soon, and like I said, now they're looking more into slavery. So
a small little movement is ended up being a big movement.
I mean, to get the recognition, you know, to have the governor look at, or the governor's staff look at the information and say, you know what, Louisiana, we screwed up. You know, let's fix this wrong. And that's what we can do in theater, in our art, because it gives us a voice, it gives us a platform. And when you use that platform to right the wrong, eventually that wrong comes to light, and it heals history in that aspect. You know, now that I look and being able to mentor so many young kids that have come through this stage. My best friend Tara Yarber and I used to, you know, we ran this place together, and unfortunately he passed away in 2017 as well. And when I think about the amount of kids that we've mentored in this place, not only here but just in many different communities. I've done theater from Crowley to New Orleans, and just the amount of lives that you touch, not just with theater and in the theater, but in the audience, touching so many lives in so many, such a vast area. That's mainly what's rewarding. But having those kids, it's almost being a teacher, having those kids now grown up themselves with families and kids, thanking you, or
still to this day,
or saying, hey, I remember when some XYZ happened, and you don't realize what a big impact that made on their life. You know, and that's the rewarding thing that keeps me crazy.
I was gonna get to it too. Wow, I know that, you know, like even outside of production, you do stuff in the community. You know, you're just always pouring back into the community.
Just to let everybody know, you know, here what we do it for the community. This is community theater. You know, I could have bought the quarter somewhere else and made some money off of it, but to me, what we do here in this community theater creates access, creates opportunity for folks like yourself who was in theater, folks like, you know, I'll just think back to a few like Muhammad Ayers, Victor Lashley, you know, Avris Anderson, just to name just a few, but to also see the kids that have taken their theater. They may not do theater for a living, but I guarantee you an aspect that they were taught was used in their daily lives, you know.
Absolutely.
So it crosses over.
Yes, it does. It really does. So what has been one of your most challenges?
Well, and again, it's a team effort. It's a total team effort. You know, I usually get the spotlight because I'm the one that's the loudest out there. You know, or the one that's not shying away.
In a sense, the face.
Because you grab it's easy to grab the spotlight. You know, from TV, radio, you name it. But I think the most challenging here has been lack of funding, lack of arts funding. It's same with our schools. The school systems, it's the first thing that's always cut, and that's being an advocate.
I don't understand that. That's so crazy.
Being an advocate of the arts, I was just recently recognized by the governor, and he put me on the state arts council board. So immediately, I haven't been on a year, but I started talking about how the arts funding, it's just not accurate. It's not the way it should work, because when you meet with politicians, they're quick to tell you how much money was placed in the budget for the arts, but then when you tell them that they don't truly understand how that budget works, where, you know, the Superdome's going to get half of that, and they go, wait, what? And I said, by the time it gets to Franklin, we're left with about $2,000 annually to run a 300-seat theater.
Oh, wow, no.
You know, so it doesn't work, you know, and even though we're appreciative of that 2,000, we look for ticket sales to be that support role. You know, we have to sell tickets to fund this theater. So truly, it takes the community to fund a community theater. I think that's been the hardest. With this set, when you look at this set, of course, this is a Broadway style set, but we put in a lot of funds in this. So there were private donations that were made. There were grants that were written for and accepted. So, and a lot of personal money that went into this to make a dream come true. You know, not only for me, not only for Kenny Perry, not only for my creative team and the actors, it's coming together, and 100% of the proceeds went to the Tesh Theater. So we did it all volunteerism, from myself as the playwright, director, painter, toilet cleaner, you know,
I love it, everything.
And to the actors that work full-time jobs and then come in here at night and take time out of their personal life and their family to be able to do something for the community. That's something that you don't find anywhere else in the world but a community theater.
Wow.
Our community answered the call. We raised $15,000 off of the quarters just by asking people to donate and being truthful, saying, look, you know, we got $1,200 in the theater bank account. We don't have money to do anything with. And the community answered the call, and then we raised about another $12,000 in ticket sales. So now we're back solid, not where we want to be yet, but now we have something to where we can do other shows, where we can touch more lives, where we can give that access to the arts, you know, or arts education, because we are the only place that you can get arts education. You know, it's hard to get it in schools. They don't teach it in school anymore. Places like the Sanger don't really push arts education. They really have more of a profit mindset. So here, you know, if you're casting a show, you're going to learn. We're going to teach you the basics of theater, and we're going to teach you a little bit more than that. And we're going to, if you want to learn lighting and sound and set design and learn how to paint, and stay here with us on a couple of midnights and weekends.
We're going to get it done.
We're going to get it done, and that's what it takes.
Oh, wow, I love it. And I'm so glad that the community is as invested as you are in the community. So it's
a give and take. We were the first venue to stream anything globally during the pandemic. Right here, Franklin, Louisiana. We had just finished Driving Miss Daisy, and I was like, yo, LaDacia and her husband videoed it and did a great edit, and I said, which we're not supposed to, but we did. And I said, let's see if we could stream it. Everybody's streaming, starting to sing in their homes. I'm
Why
like,
not?
why not? So you get on the phone with the royalty company. Hey, how much would it cost us to stream Driving Miss Daisy? And they go, we don't know. We've never been asked that question before. I said, well, Broadway HD and they're streaming Broadway stuff. Why can't we?
Yep.
They said, give us a day. They got with their legal department, came back, said, we'll charge you an extra $125. We're like, we got it.
Easy.
We streamed it. We had
not a problem. Wow,
we had
that's
people from Italy, the UK, all over the United States, China, literally watching Driving Miss Daisy from our stage.
Whew, wow.
So it's about taking that opportunity, and it's about moving forward. It's constantly moving. That's
moving.
That's
yes.
my take at life. Always constantly moving toward whether it's a goal or something in the community, because if you want that spotlight, that's how you get it. People always say, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. That's the way you do it in a community. You become that squeaky wheel. You speak up for wrongs. You speak up for rights, and you speak up for what you want. Your passion. I
always say closed mouths don't get fed.
That's right. That's right.
We gotta go for it.
And that's something I believe. And Tara and I used to be that squeaky wheel in here, working together. Sometimes 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night, and just getting ready for that next show, and sometimes we felt underappreciated or not recognized, or we'd go to award ceremonies and they're like, and the top volunteer in St. Mary Parish is, and you go,
somebody else,
and you go, do you know that person? I go, I never heard that person before. I know you put in about 1,000 hours last year volunteerism, and I go, it's all right though, because we did it for us, and we did it for these kids that come through here, and adults that come through here, and it changes lives.
Y'all, I know you guys are gonna follow, and your production is called Soulful Productions.
Soulful Productions.
So I want to add that in there too.
And but I put most of my stuff on my personal page, Ed Tiger Verdin, and of course the Tesh Theater for the Performing Arts. This is my. I say this is my second home. My wife,
this is your home.
My wife calls it my first home, so I get in trouble because of this place a lot.
I am curious to know what are your thoughts now on how the film and entertainment industry is now?
Yeah, with the film industry, when I look at that, I feel we're still missing the mark in the film industry. I think Hollywood is more specifically, they constantly go back to the same writers, the same directors, the same producers, and mainly it's because of the producers and the studios. But we have great talent. We have great African American directors that are out there, but we're constantly going back to the same ones. Same thing in look, like, I'm not going to leave the theater industry out as well. When you look at Broadway, Kenny Leon does almost all of the African American productions on Broadway. Now they're starting to expand a little bit more, but I just think we have so much more talent that's out there that's not being tapped into. I think there's more stories instead of remakes. But I just think, and there are powerful shows that are out there, but I just think we're in this day and age with Netflix and everything else, we're seeing a lot of that work come out, and I think Hollywood's now, the pandemic has put Hollywood behind the 8 ball, and Hollywood's trying to catch up now. So because they've realized that I can take an iPhone and create a masterpiece on a fraction of a budget and get more views and more money than they could ever dream about. And it's being proved in our independent films across America. We have another a guy from Franklin, Bud Abear, who's living in LA, and he's on his second film. And matter of fact, it's going to be in the Iberia Film Festival and the Mexican Film Festival in May. So I mean,
that's right there,
and it's like, seeing things that he's producing and things that we're producing here, it's like sometimes Hollywood needs to step out of their comfort zone and produce more pivotal films like The Quarters, which, you know, I mean, that we're talking, but I think things like this can not only help the country heal, but help people come together. There's a powerful piece, and it started in theater, and it's called American Son.
American Son. Oh.
If you haven't seen American Son,
yeah.
I think it's still on Netflix.
Okay.
It's a powerful piece of theater, but they filmed it, and that's something that I'm hoping to bring here next year, our next season, and that's something that nobody knows yet. So I didn't even tell the board that's the show I wanted to do next year, but it's a powerful, it's a powerful show. Whether even if it doesn't get produced here, it's going to get produced next year. It's a show of an interracial couple that has a son that gets pulled over. He's racially profiled.
Is Kerry Washington?
Yes.
I saw it. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
That's powerful.
It was.
It's a show that took my breath away because even the father, who was a cop,
didn't see it.
Didn't see it. And his son was crying out to him. Yeah. And I think that's one of the most pivotal shows about race that you can watch right now. I think when you look at it, and Kerry Washington did an amazing job as the mother.
It made me mad.
It makes you mad, and that's
made me mad.
And I think that's what makes it powerful, especially when I don't want to give too much away if you haven't watched it yet. I think the dad's eyes get open when he has a confrontation. Yeah. And he gets arrested. You know, because they're not listening. Yeah. They're not listening. You know, because their son didn't look like their son, and they weren't listening. And I think that's one of the good eye openers, that if you don't understand what's going on in the world today, if you may not be privy to some of that world, you know, of what's happening in the world today, because I don't want to say it's not happening here in Franklin, Louisiana, or Lafayette, because it happens everywhere. As I don't care, you know, nobody's exempt from racism. I mean, you know, even colorism. You know, you and I talked earlier. You know, I'm a member of the United Homa Nation, and people automatically see me. When they see me and they don't know me, they say, "Hey, Mr. White Guy," you know, and that's how it is. And this first African-American female doctor, why didn't they get a black writer to write this, you know? And I get that sometimes, but then I love going into the explanation and saying,
and look at what I've actually done the research.
You know, like I said, even when we talked earlier, it goes beyond that as well. It's when my first ancestor was called a savage in writing from Lewis and Clark. And in the census of the United States, they're not even, my ancestors were not even looked at as human. They were called savages. You know, it wasn't white, black, or Native American, it was savage. And like I told you earlier, we're not even recognized by the federal government. We're recognized by state government. But the United States says my culture, my family, my people don't exist as a culture, you know. So today in 2022, we're still not recognized. However, the French government recognizes us because we're in their writings as well. You know, from all the explorers that came from France and through the Louisiana Purchase, when the United Homa Nation is written on their map, they recognized that, you know, and they knew of the indigenous people that were here well before them. So that's my passion. That's where that fire that stays to say, you know what, we're going to right these wrongs. Let's start that conversation and get beyond starting that conversation by having that conversation and healing and coming together.
Ooh, y'all, yes indeed. All right, so this has been an amazing interview. I thank you for sharing so much, but I know our viewers want to know, what is next for Tiger?
What's next? You know, next, during the pandemic, it really has been a blessing to me, and I was contacted by a Broadway producer. So we are looking at producing Undying Love, which is the story of about 9/11. Hopefully this fall, if Broadway's ready. I mean, it's still kind of shaky. It's on rocky ground. Mr. Leonard Marshall from Franklin, Louisiana.
Wow, come on, Franklin.
Played with the New York Giants back in the 80s, won 2 Super Bowls.
Whoa.
And his agent back in the day left the NFL, became a Broadway agent, and during the pandemic was perusing scripts and saw my script, and then saw I was from Franklin, contacted Leonard, and there's the story.
Yep.
So next thing I know, I'm talking to Leonard. Leonard calls me, and then we're on a 3-way conference call. I fly up during the pandemic, and I mean, now's the history. You know, it's so we're looking to produce something on Broadway in the near future. So, you know, I'm not in a rush. We're letting God. I let God lead. So whenever it's in His timing, just like this.
It's not our timing, but
just like this play, 10 years, almost 10 years to the date. But
and you stuck with it.
I stuck with it, but it's in His timing because I got a grant for this show, which in turn made me produce it. So who knows? You know, He does. God knows. So it's in His timing, and I've learned to let Him lead and just.
You just sit back.
I just sit back.
Sit back and do you.
Wherever He sends me.
I could just scream for you. Like
thank
you have so much in your future. I'm just so blessed to even just really be sitting next to you and just hearing your journey. And I will definitely be eyes on you and your team and your family, because I know you guys have big things coming up.
Yeah, so it's you know, other shows as well. So, but because you keep it here, keep it hometown, and you keep producing, and you never stop, no matter what. You know, I'm rooted here in Franklin, and they'll never get me out of Franklin.
Okay.
So it's easy to jump on a plane and fly up
travel,
north.
but hey, this is home.
This is home. This is home. And like Dorothy said, there's no place like home.
Oh, come on with it. So you guys, we are about to do our toast and have the amazing Mr. Tiger close us out. I know you guys are going to rewatch this over and over. I'm going to go ahead and get the shot glasses, and we are going to do the toast, you guys. All right, Mr. Tiger. Before we even do the toast, I want you to tell the viewers how can we follow you, what's your social media handlings. Here you have the floor.
My social media handling, Ed Tiger Verdin on Facebook, Instagram. Simple as that. You're gonna see a lot of food that I eat. You're gonna see family.
Can't wait for that.
You're gonna see a lot of community. You're gonna see everything I do in the community. But that's the main purpose, you know, showing love. That's the main thing, you know.
I love it. And as we do on every episode, we're gonna let Mr. Tiger here close us out with anything that's on his heart to share with you guys.
Yeah, I would say support the arts. Support the arts, especially high school productions and community theater, because that's arts education, that's arts access. We don't know who is going to come out of those programs. It could be the next John Baptiste, you know, and that's because he started at NOCA. So when you look at the arts has touched many people and inspired them to go beyond and continue that calling and become great citizens, and telling those stories and writing those stories and you know, fixing those wrongs. But out of everything, love one another. Love one another. If we love one another, there's nothing else that can get between that.
Hello? So, yeah, and you rooting in that from the beginning of time.
From the beginning of time, I was taught that love, nothing can conquer love. And as long as love is first in your heart, with God as you know, guiding you, you can't go wrong. I've tried to put that square peg in that round hole, and I don't do it good, but He can do it. So that's all I say. Love one another.
All right, and we go toast to that.
All right, Red Bull down.
Yes.
All right.